Welcome back to my channel. I am your favorite nail tech, Bougie Vintage, and today's video is a recreation of Uncle Clifford's nails because this is a P-Valley recap, whatever you want to call it. So Uncle Clifford's nails are usually a mix of stiletto and coffin. Because these are for giveaway, some people might not want to like mix their nails, so I'm just going to do stiletto because I've done a coffin set and a square set, I think, so far. We're gonna do stiletto today. The nail tips are from Nail Couture. It was hard to get a screenshot of Uncle Clifford's nails. One from the last video or the last episode. The close-up I got was very, very blurry. Like this is all I got, okay? He has like a pinky nude going on, and then he has one nail that has a black V French, and he has some gems. I'm probably gonna do a lot more gems than he has because Uncle Clifford's nails usually are quite blingy. So yeah, let's get into it. So this episode was called Savage. There was a trigger warning at the beginning of the episode because the episode got a little dark. So I am going with number 88. That is by Nail Couture. And let me just get my reference photo again, sorry. So the beginning of the episode, sex right away, okay? We see Diamond and Big Bone having sex, and they're playing My Neck, My Back. It's very dramatic, very, very, very dramatic. And as he is having sex with her, he keeps seeing Keyshawn's face whisper his name, but Keyshawn is obviously not who he's having sex with, so that's problematic. Because he keeps seeing Keyshawn, he decides that he's going to flip Big Bone over. So he flips her to hit her from behind, and then he's able to finish. She says to him, he keeps coming in that condom, she wants it in her mouth. I'm like, oh my god. Every episode I'm like, this show is getting raunchier and raunchier, okay? It's highly problematic. He basically tells her like, no wise man or no man with sense exposes his seed, and she basically says like she's not trying to get pregnant, so, or she don't want any babies. And so he says, you don't want any babies, well I don't want any hexes. And then she says that she is the one that has been hexed because she's digmatized. So Big Bone gets up and she's butt ass naked, and she starts walking toward that little area that he has his shrine at, but she's just grabbing a glass of water, and she looks at the shrine and she sees the ring. So she's curiously walking towards it and she wants to touch it, but then Diamond comes out from the bathroom and he asks her if she wants to wake up with warts all over her face, titties growing out of her back, and her legs all twisted up. And she said she doesn't think that would be a good look. So he said, then I would advise you not to touch it. So she asked Diamond, what is it? And Diamond tells her protection. So she says to him, you don't look like the type of nigga that needs protection or that needs to be protected. Obviously, he's security, right? So he says to her, well, everybody needs a little saving every now and again. So he checks his phone and he looks a little concerned, and she's like, what is it? And so he tells her like he's just looking about this Spades event that he has to secure later. So she asks him about the pink and like why he's not doing security at the pink anymore. She gets real close to him and she tells him that she thinks that he probably tried to save a hoe that didn't want to be saved. And he said, who told you that? She's like, your eyes. Every time you're having sex with me, you have your eyes closed. And I said, ooh, child. So she tells Diamond that the next time they have sex that she wants those big chestnuts looking right at her. And so he was like to her, well, why don't we make the next time right now? And I said, ooh. I said, ooh, listen, Diamond is so damn fine. I am in love with Diamond, period. So these nails are actually really simple now that I think about it. So we're just gonna do a lot of gems. A bunch of people gathered around dancing and stuff, and it looks like a video shoot for Lil Murda, but I don't think it was an actual video shoot. It was just a bunch of people gathered around. Lil Murda pulls up in this new green and red car, and Big Teak is sitting on a car. When Lil Murda pulls up and Lil Murda is getting out the car, Big Teak looks so turned on. Like he is like licking his lips, like it's it's doing the most. He's licking his lips, but obviously very subtly, because if somebody sees him looking at Lil Murda like that, like obviously it's a dead giveaway. When he pulls up and he gets out the car real smooth, he throws the keys to Big Teak. And then he gets onto a vehicle and he basically is giving like a speech and basically telling Big Teak like the car is for him and like they're gonna take care of him on the outside like he took care of them on the inside. So we see Big Teak crying in the car. He's really emotional. Big Teak has been emotional since we met him, okay? He's been emotional since we met him. Yeah, he's getting emotional. And then he gets to doing donuts after he has a little cry in the car. So at the Pink, Uncle Clifford is having a smoke and Big L comes in the back room where he's at and he starts counting down. And Haley busts out the shower in her towel and she's like, Big L, what the F? And she's cussing and saying that she paid the water bill. So she doesn't understand why the water is cold or off. So she's pissed off because she's getting ready to go somewhere. And Big L's like, yeah, you paid the water bill, but you did not pay me. So she says that she has somewhere to be and for him to put the water back on. And so Uncle Clifford picks up her dress and he's like, oh, is this the dress that you're wearing out? And so she runs up to him and she snatches the dress out of his hand and cusses and says to put the water back on. So Uncle Clifford is in the office and he's like, we're gonna have to kill this bitch. Like, I can't stand her. And Big L is like, no, we have way too much blood on our hands already. So Uncle Clifford is like, yeah, well, Autumn doesn't have enough blood on her hand. And he's pissed off about how much they've done for Autumn and how she's still gonna turn around and put the Pink on the auction block. So because there's cameras all throughout the strip club, Autumn is looking into the camera and she gives Clifford the finger and Clifford is looking into the monitor and Autumn cannot see Clifford, but he does not care. So she's giving him the finger and he's giving her the finger back. He's doing the absolute most. These nails are so simple. Uncle Clifford usually comes with a serious set, okay? We're gonna have to do some hard work here to make these Uncle Clifford approved. So Uncle Clifford says Audacity is running high during the pandemic. He ain't never lied, okay? Because I know when the pandemic first started, Audacity was definitely running high from strangers and people that you knew alike, okay? So Big L tells Uncle Clifford that the AC system that they need is $5,000. Child, you know they ain't got it. And so Uncle Clifford's like, where are we supposed to get $5,000 from on top of the money that we have to pay, on top of the $11,000, like, that's $16,000. Where are we gonna get that from? So Big L shows him a flyer on his phone of Roulette and Whisper saying that they're bringing the Pink to the People's Spade Tournament. And so he says to Big L to remind him to sue them hoes for copyright infringement, as he should. As he freaking should. So Big L is kind of defending Roulette and Whisper and saying like everybody's just trying to do what they can to survive because obviously if the Pink is closed, they need to make the money somehow. They're strippers. They have no choice. So then Big L tells Uncle Clifford that Duffy is coming through with another big drop, a big shipment, and Uncle Clifford is not supportive of the drug dealing at all. Uncle Clifford wants to turn Autumn into the police, but obviously they can't do that, and so Big L is like, if only she had pulled the trigger, or if she would have buried any of the bodies. So Uncle Clifford starts staring at the monitors, looking at Haley, Autumn, and he says, Autumn Nightmare, what is your next move? So in the next scene, Big Teak is at the barber and obviously he's with Lil Murda. And the barber is using fire, literal fire, to quaff Big Teak's hair. I said, could not be me, Chad. You is not about to set me on fire in your damn salon. No. And like what? Anything could go wrong, but I've seen people do this before. But I don't understand the concept of burning the top of somebody's hair. Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I don't understand how it's safe. Obviously it's not. But hey, if the barber knows what they're doing, I guess they know what they're doing. So Lil Murda says, I can't believe that Rome died. Like, I can't believe it. And so Big Teak, I think, inquired about how Rome died, and Lil Murda was like, the blogs don't say how he died. They're just saying that he's dead. So the barber asks Lil Murda if he knows any of his songs. And so Lil Murda starts saying his song titles. But that barber don't know nothing about no Lil Murda, okay? He is old school as they come. So Lil Murda's phone rings and it's Keyshawn, and he takes the call outside. So Lil Murda's trying to tell Keyshawn, like, Wody is gonna put everything back together for them. Like, you know, he's gonna organize it. It's gonna be fine. But Keyshawn is trying to tell him, look, something happened in Atlanta. And he's like, what the hell do you mean something happened? So she starts telling him what happened with Rome, but she doesn't give details. She just says he tried it. He's like, what do you mean he tried it? She said it. And so he's like, glad that nigga's dead then. Keyshawn's like, I told Wody that Rome knew about you. And Lil Murda starts to stutter, okay, like his name is Joe, okay? he gets to stuttering and acting like he is confused about what she's talking about. Nigga, you know exactly what she's talking about. As she's on the phone, Derek comes in the room and he asks her who she's on the phone with. And so she rushes off the phone. She says she got to go. She hangs up on Lil Murda. And when she gets off the phone, she tells Derek that it was just Lil Murda asking about Rome's funeral arrangements. Derek is like, oh, it's so like unfortunate, like he was such a good guy. Little does he know. And not that he would probably care, because, well, actually Derek is weird, so like he would care, but only because he feels like he's the only person that can hurt Keyshawn. He don't think anybody else is allowed to hurt Keyshawn. That's the only reason he really would show concern if Keyshawn told him that something happened on tour. But she obviously is not even, there's no point to tell him because Rome is dead anyway. And also, Keyshawn is planning her great escape, so she is trying to keep the conversations with Derek to a minimum. She's just trying to not ruffle his feathers at this point. Anyway, so Derek is like calling Rome a good guy and saying like he got Keyshawn so many great deals and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, he's supposed to go and help his friend put like a fire pit in his backyard. And he asked Keyshawn if she wants to come. Keyshawn's whole face is black and blue, so I don't know why he's doing that. He knows what he's doing though. So she says no, she doesn't want to come, and she's like basically gestures to her face like, I can't go anywhere. Nobody can see me like this. So Derek smirks and he leaves. Mercedes shows up at Shell's house and she is bringing a bag of groceries there. And Shell is like, Terica's not here. So Mercedes goes in the house and she looks in the fridge and she sees like, it's like moldy food and they're like moldy oranges or something like that. And like it's empty otherwise. So she's putting the food away in the fridge. And she goes to put something in the garbage and she asks Shell, how long does it take to drink all of that? And so Shell's like, I don't have a problem. And so Mercedes suggests that they get her some help. And she's like, I don't need no help other than a job. And do you have one of those for me? And I don't mean no strip club either. And I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. So Shell sits down and Mercedes is like, you called Terica a mistake. Why did you do that? And Shell is in denial. So Mercedes is like, the other night when Terica got pulled over driving, you called her a mistake. Shell is like convinced she never did this. Baby, you did. So she gets to sobbing, and because she is a little distraught, Mercedes is basically asking like, would she allow her to take Terica off her hands for a little bit? And immediately the sobbing stopped, and she's like, you think you so slick. And so Mercedes is like, I'm not trying to get custody. Like, that's not what this is, but obviously you need help. So Shell is like, you damn right, because there's a difference between being a mother and a parent. And I'm like, ma'am, I don't think you are being either right now. So what are you really saying? People love to throw low blows and act like their itch don't stink. Baby, it's stinking. It's stinking up the joint. So Shell tells Mercedes that Terica is gonna stay put with her where she's safe, and that she's not going to that hellhole ghetto that Mercedes lives at or in. So Mercedes is like to her, Shell, no matter what I do, it will never be good enough for you, huh? So she calls Terica and the phone goes to voicemail. And then As she gets off that phone call, the coach is calling her and basically asking her to come and finish the Mercedes experience and saying like his wife will not stop raving about it. And like she's like, oh, but coach, like she's annoyed, but she obviously can't let him know that. He also can't know that she was already with the wife. So she's trying to play it off and says, oh, like I just want to spend time with you, coach. But he says to her that he has to keep his wife happy, and that's why she needs to just appease his wife. So her phone starts ringing again, and it's Terica. So she rushes coach off the phone after telling him, all right, I'll see you then. And she answers the phone for Terica, but the call is dropped. It was giving Rogers 2 days ago. Like they needed to get together. So she couldn't really get Terica. She didn't end up talking to Terica because the call dropped. Okay. So in the next scene, Big Teak and Murda are on a little outing. They're on a date, and I'm like, ooh. And so they're in like this restaurant place. Nobody else is in there except for them. Okay. And there's a black girl there, and she's taking their orders, and she's kind of flirting with Big T. And Lil Murda wasn't feeling that. Okay. He kind of dismissed her. And I'm like, okay, if y'all aren't gonna come out of the closet and live your best lives, y'all need to stop being rude to women just because they're flirting with your man. Like, wait, get it together, okay? Because don't nobody know y'all is together. Nobody knows you guys are an item. Please. Yeah, they were highly offended, or he was highly offended, and he kind of dismissed her, and she called him out for being rude. But she went and got the water that they asked for. So they're talking over wings, and Lil Murda actually acknowledges that this is a date. So Big Teak is like, he never thought that they'd get the pleasure or the experience of actually going on a date. He said he never thought they'd do it proper like. And I was cackling. When he said proper like, I was laughing. They were laughing. I'm like, I love whoever wrote the script, okay? I love you, okay? So he's like, he says it in a British accent. And then Lil Murda also tries to do the accent. What, my can linguine wasn't good enough for you? And I'm like, can linguine, child, where they do that at? Jail. Okay, so they were in jail when they first had their first date. Apparently, Lil Murda was in a utility closet. Big Teak was brought to the utility closet by a correctional officer, and he thought that he was gonna get. He thought that the correctional officer was going to take advantage of him, but Lil Murda was sat in there waiting for him. So Big T gets to crying again, and I'm like, oh my, like he is literally always crying, but like I kind of understand because he's been through quite a bit, but he cries in every episode, like every episode. So then he gets to talking about Lil Murda moving on, and Big Teak says, what's he like? And he's talking about Uncle Clifford, and so Lil Murda's like, what's she like? And Big Teak's like, she? What you mean she? You was with a lady? So he's confused, and Lil Murda's like, that's what Cliff prefers to be called, she. But he says that he just calls Cliff his nigga. So Big T gets to talking about how lots of things have changed over the years, obviously referring to pronouns and stuff like that. And when he's talking, he's a little confused whether he should say he, she, them, her, girl, boy. He don't know what to say, so he just says this nigga. And so Lil Murda actually starts to kind of gush over Cliff, but then admits that he effed it up. And so Big Teak's like, yeah, you have a habit of doing that. And I said, ooh, now he dragging him. So Lil Murda admits that he does have a habit of messing things up. And so he goes to like touch Big Teak's hand, and Big Teak pulls it away and pinches his nose, and I'm like, oh my god, they're so cute. I'm low-key standing. And so Big Teak tells Lil Murda that all is forgiven. Okay, so this is the Uncle Clifford set, girl. Gaudy, and I would never wear these. We're still filming, so I'm just gonna finish the setup. So since Derek has left the house, Keyshawn is planning her great escape, okay? She is trying to do Houdini. And so Keyshawn gets her gun out of the furnace. She's packing her bag. She's grabbing her kids, and she is trying to be out, okay? So she's on her way out the door, and realizes, oh no, I can't take my phone with me because he tracks my moves. So she throws her phone onto the table and she gets her kids in the car. Keyshawn tries to start her engine. The engine is not turning over, okay? Her car will not start. And I'm like, oh hell no. This nigga messed with under the hood. So Keyshawn is like feeling like, what the frig? So she gets out of her car. She goes and opens her trunk and she realizes that he took the battery out of her vehicle. This man is sick. He's 10 steps ahead of her, but Derek has his coming, okay? He does. So obviously she's feeling extremely defeated. Like, she thought that this was her one opportunity to get out, but she couldn't go anywhere. See me? I would have been at the neighbor's house and begging to be, no, I would have left my car. Car would have had to get left, honey. I would have found another, call me an Uber, something. Because it's not like it's 1950. It's 2022. She should have taken those car seats out, gotten an Uber, and went some damn where. But she was really defeated, and you see her walking back into the house with her diaper bag on her shoulder. It's really sad. It really was. So because Big Teak has been in jail so long, he does not know how to use the gas pump. And so Lil Murda gets out the car to basically show him how to use the gas machine. And I'm like, oh my god, how long was this nigga in jail for? The gas pumps didn't change. Like, what year did he get in there? So all of a sudden Lil Murda hears his song on the radio, and so he literally reaches into some random girl's car and turns up the radio and starts yelling about how that's him on the radio. And so Big Teak and Lil Murda are geeked. They're super hype, and they're just making everybody that's at the gas station put Lil Murda's song on from K97 or whatever the hell the radio station was called. In the next scene, at the Spades competition or the Spades tournament, Roulette and Whisper are once again ripping the stage up. Okay, they tearing it up. And some guy named Terrence, who knows Roulette, approaches her about Whisper, and he says that he will pay $2,000 to eat her coochie. I said, what? And I'm like, niggas is weird. Like, at the strip club? Really? Sir, do better. You could tell that Roulette is feeling a little bit of jealousy, but she also is looking like, you know, she kind of wants to pimp Whisper. That's the vibe I was getting. So she tells this guy named Terrence she doesn't think that Whisper gets down like that. And so he asks her if she will ask Whisper. At the condo, Farrah, Mercedes, and Coach are there about to have another Mercedes experience. And Coach gets up to get a drink out the blender or something like that. And so Mercedes and Farrah are having like a secret side convo. Mercedes is like telling Farrah she needs to relax and chill because she's gonna mess her bag up. And so she's on her best behavior. We will come back to the condo scene in a minute. Autumn arrives to a masquerade ball. She's wearing a red dress. She shows up, of course, uninvited. You already know. Autumn don't be invited nowhere. She just be showing up. Andre had been at a podium and he was making a speech. And after he finishes his speech, Autumn challenges him. Well, he ate the answer on up, okay? He ate it up. He didn't stutter, nothing. He answered her question flawlessly. After she does that, Corbin approaches her, ready to cuss her out. You already know Corbin hates her. Like, he actually hates her. And Andre is also upset. And he's like, and Corbin asks if he invited her. And he's like, no. I surely did not. And so a lady comes up to her, like a waitress comes up to her and brings her a drink, but she's using a pseudonym. So like, she's not there with her own name, and they're like, oh, so that's how you bypass the guest list. So this white guy comes up, one of the Promised Land people, and he is basically telling Andre that he owes the Promised Land people a favor. Corbin says that they can go discuss it in the cigar lounge, and tells Andre to escort the white man to the cigar lounge. And he grabs Autumn by her arm and starts escorting her off the damn property. Okay, he was playing security. So he grabs her and basically kicks her out of the event. At the Spades tournament, you see that Roulette is standing in a mirror and she is eyeing Whisper through the mirror and also through the corner of her eye, and she is hating on her heavily. So I don't know what she's going to do, but I don't think it's gonna be good. So in the next scene, more sex. We see Coach and Farrah having sex with Mercedes. He thought he was doing something. He wasn't doing nothing. Farrah ends up taking over the session. And this is when it all goes absolutely south. I told you guys this was not gonna work out. Men don't know how to handle stuff like this. Farrah takes over the session, and her and Mercedes look like two women in love, and like it wasn't their first time. He says, Farrah, what the F? Like, he pulls out, he stops doing what he's doing, and they finish with each other. He's putting his robe on, and he's like, Farrah, what the F? And he grabs Farrah's arm and says, y'all been cheating on me. How does this work? I thought y'all was getting the Mercedes experience. So how come they're only, what I didn't really understand why they could only do the Mercedes experience with him. I didn't understand why they can't do it outside of him, but he can have 30 different hussies. Like, I'm confused. It's very much one-sided. Both of the ladies deny that they've been cheating with each other. So they get to putting their robes on, and he gets to cussing Farrah out and cussing Mercedes out. He's saying to Mercedes that she turned his wife out. And when Farrah tries to speak, he cuts her off and he's like, nah, we've been married for 19 years and you ain't never looked at no pussy and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, child, why is he so mad? I thought this is what he wanted. So he's like, and now you over here bumping coochies like a pro. I was dying. I'm like, I can't believe Coach is this mad. I can't believe he is this mad. Sir, you brought her here. You thought only you could have the fun, sir? Farrah gets in her bag now, finally stands up for herself, and she's like, yeah, Cedric, we've been married 19 years, and you don't even know that I like coochie probably more than you do. I said, she letting him have it. So she basically tells him, you were too busy chasing your dreams and your fantasies. You know, you don't know nothing about mine, what I want to do. Mercedes is chiming in talking about what about her fantasies? What about her dreams? I'm like, I would have just sat there and be quiet because I still have a check to collect, okay? So at this point, Coach is so mad and he tells Mercedes she needs to GTFO, okay? She got to go. So Farrah is like, don't be mad at her. Don't be mad at Mercedes. And so it's almost like they're tag teaming up on him. And you know, Farrah's a real one for this, okay? Because Farrah could have just acted like, too bad for Mercedes. She just a hoe. Like, she could have acted that way, but she didn't. She really was being a stand-up lady. So he grabs onto Mercedes and he starts pulling her out of the room to escort her out of the condo. And she's like, you're hurting me. Let go of me. Ow, 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 all this stuff. So she tells him, what's up?
You want to try this?
What is
it's
that?
It's a cucumber from
from the garden? Yes.
It's so delicious. And I put a tiny bit of salt.
Bless the Lord.
It's so... Isn't it good? It's so good.
I love cucumber.
There's more.
Mm-hmm. Good. I want some with my wings and...
Oh. When are you going to do that? When you need...
Probably after I finish filming this. My mom's been growing all kinds of stuff in the garden. Okay? We got cucumber. We got strawberries. I'm gonna have to kill me a chipmunk though, because the chipmunk been eating my strawberries. What else we got? Tomatoes, greens, beans, yams. We got tomatoes. We got spinach. We got, I think, asparagus. We got scallion, and then we have chives. We got potatoes. We got tamarind seeds. We got tangerines. Girl, it's giving holistic. I'm getting sidetracked. So as has Mercedes, she's like, you still needs to run me my 40 bands, okay, for the rest of the month. And he says, like hell I do. And I'm like, a contract is a contract. And so Farrah chimes in again and she's like, Cedric, don't do that. You need to pay the lady. Pay the lady, okay? And so he goes over and he's mumbling, he's cussing. He goes over to all these stacks of cash on the table. He's picking them up. And Farrah hands Mercedes her shoes. And Mercedes is looking very upset at this point. You don't see Coach hand Mercedes the money. It looks like she left without it. Baby, I would be collecting my check in full. I am not about to leave. Leave and go where? You better run me my money. I am not about to play with you. So in the next scene, Roulette is smoking a joint, honey. She's smoking in her car all on her lonesome. Probably just reminiscing and thinking about Whisper and the 2 bands that Whisper was potentially offered. or offered through her for the coochie. Roulette's going through a lot of stuff. We don't know what's going on with Roulette, okay? She's not impressed. And she sat there. Duffy ends up pulling up on her. Duffy is Eminem, white boy, okay? He pulls up on her. They are flirting heavily, okay? So he calls her the finest woman in the world. And she tells him that she F's with him. And he says that he F's with her too. And she says, but I'm a hoe. So he says, well, ain't that a coincidence? And I thought he was about to say, because he's a pimp. He said, because I'm a hoe too. I said, oh, he's smooth with it, okay? After that happened, they get to kissing, okay? They get to making out. They are one unlikely pair, okay? They shocked me. I was shocked. Gidget and Roulette are two very different people now. So Keyshawn is at home, and she is sat in the dark, holding her pink pistol. You can hear that Derek is pretty much pulling up to the house. She gets to pointing it at the door. But before he gets inside, she hides it under the pillow. And I'm like, why? Why didn't you just blast him when he walked through the door? So she doesn't. And she sits there and says, hey, babe, when he comes inside. So when Derek gets inside, she asks him how was the party or wherever he went. And he said it was fun and that they want him to bring the kids the next time he comes. So he asks her if everything is okay. And of course she says yes, but she damn lied. He's talking to her and he's like, your phone said you didn't move all day. And I'm like, this mother effer is crazy to make sure she ain't trying to escape. She's like, yeah, we stayed inside all day and just watched Peppa Pig. And he's like, I bet they love that. And how they're so happy that she's home, but nobody's happier than him. Then, sir, why is her face black and blue? Like, why is her face messed up if you're so happy she's home? This man is psychotic. I need her to kill him. I do. Or Wody. Baby daddy Wody. Derek gets to kissing Keyshawn on like her temple or whatever. You know you're over a character on a show when you're like rooting for them to die. So in the next scene, Lil Murda and Big Teak are just riding around getting it. And they pull up to Big Teak's old house, but at the time Lil Murda doesn't know that it's Big Teak's old house. Lil Murda thought that he was actually pulling up to the trap to get some weed. So Lil Murda hops on a FaceTime call with Wody. When Big Teak gets out of the car, Wody tells Lil Murda that, you know, he kind of has to fire Big Teak. Lil Murda's not trying to hear that. Obviously, this is his boo thing now, right? And he feels like he's indebted, right? So he feels like he owes Big Teak something, so he's not going to fire him. But obviously, the real reason Wody wants him to fire Big Teak is because he knows that they are having sex and it's been a distraction. More than one time during the call, Wody says that Rome OD'd. And so Lil Murda's like, it's funny that you're saying that he OD'd. At that point, Wody realizes, uh-oh, I done snitched on my damn self, and he switches the subject immediately. He says in reference to Big Teak, like firing Big Teak, look, if you can't handle it, I can handle it. I'm good at handling things. And then Lil Murda's phone died. Goes in the glove box looking for a charger for his phone, and he ends up getting a gun instead. We see that Big Teak walks into the trap house, and he's walking through the house, and like as he's walking through the house, you hear a woman's voice kind of like in Big Teak's head. And so obviously he's recalling something from his childhood. He's kind of freaking out, and then he walks into like this back room and he opens the closet door. And Big Teak sees himself as a child, as a little boy, and there's like blood on his shoulder. And Lil Murda brings Big Teak his gun. He's like, are you crazy? Like, how are you gonna come into the trap without your strap? Like, are you nuts? Big Teak is flustered. When they get outside, he tells Lil Murda, this used to be my house. And so Lil Murda's like, used to be. Not anymore. This is in the rear view. We're not looking back. We're going up, right? Because Lil Murda's on the radio now, okay? So in this next scene, a white woman of importance, Georgie Batson, she pulls up to the masquerade ball. And Autumn greets her outside. And Autumn does not reveal her identity just yet. So Georgie thinks that Autumn is like a bar girl. Autumn takes this opportunity to escort Miss Georgie to the cigar lounge where all the men are congregating. So when Corbin opens the door, obviously he is stunned because he was not anticipating either one of those women would be entering the cigar lounge, especially because he had just kicked Autumn out. Like, he just told Autumn to get gone. What on earth is she doing in the cigar lounge? He sent to see them, but they enter the room and they're sat down and they get to talking about Promised Land, the casino, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I just must say, Miss Georgie Batson is dragging those men in that room for filth, okay? And I was living for every minute of it. That being said, Miss Lakeisha Savage finally introduced herself as that. She said, I am Lakeisha Savage and I own the Pink. And they tried to lowball me and they should be embarrassed. And Miss Georgie Batson was like, brava, okay? She was living for Lakeisha Savage. Autumn, of course, Lakeisha Savage, took over the meeting and Georgie Batson was very impressed. Georgie Batson has one goal, and her goal is to get her casino up and running. She basically tells Lakeisha that she will be in touch with her and that she indeed is going to get her a good deal for the Pink. She also says that she will co-sign Andre's campaign run. In the next scene, Grandma is sweating like hell, okay? And so Clifford checks her sugar and he's like, well, Grandma, your sugar is normal. So why the hell are you sweating like a hoe in church? Grandma says she doesn't know. She's also telling him, once again, to kill Lakeisha. She is so tired. She might hate Lakeisha more than Corbin hates Lakeisha. She's there telling him to kill that light-skinned bee. He checks her temperature and she has a fever of over 102 and she's coughing. You know she got COVID. He gets on the phone immediately. He calls Toy and he asks Toy how she's doing. When Toy answers the phone, Toy is coughing, okay, coughing up a storm. And Clifford was like, I knew it, you bitch. It wasn't no damn allergies. So now he's mad because Grandma is sick and Grandma is too old to be sick. Anyhow, they killed Grandma. I'm gonna be so mad. So the next scene, Andre, after a long night, is on the phone with Corbin and they're discussing what happened that night. Corbin calls Haley Autumn Venti Savage. I'm like, Venti, I can't. He asked Corbin, why is he so mad? Like, we got what we wanted. Why are you still mad? And so he starts cussing about how Autumn is this and that, and she is nothing but a pair of tits with half of a brain and blah, 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 blah. He's just degrading her. He doesn't know this, but Autumn is sat in his room in the dark in a corner. When Corbin starts insulting her, she says to Andre, I think my dome game is pretty strong, actually. And so he rushes off the phone with Corbin. How the hell did this lady get in his damn room? He spits out his drink because he's stunned that she's in his house or in his hotel or wherever the hell he's at. He ends the phone call with Corbin and says he'll call him back. Andre starts cussing out Lakeisha, okay? Calling her out for her selfish ways. So he tells her that she needs to get out. And as she's leaving, he blurts out, I let you win. And she turns around, she's like, what? And he's like, I let you win at the auction. I let you win. She says, yes, you have the power. What are you gonna do with it? He's like, what? She's like, you're in charge, sir. How do you want me? And I'm like, what is happening? He just cussed you out. The toxicity is real. Andre says, take off your dress. She drops it to the floor. Her bra and panties match the damn dress. She says, what else, sir? And I'm like, what in the 50 Shades is going on here? He says for her to crawl. And she's like, crawl. And he's like, crawl. So she gets to crawling towards him. And then she's like, now what? And then she stands up, takes off her drawers. And then we see prosthetic dick silhouettes, and then they get to making love like they've been a couple since 1994. Like, what is going on? So this is where the episode gets dark. So here's your trigger warning in advance. Big Teak and Little Murda are sitting on the hood of the car that Lil Murda bought for Big Teak. They're singing So Fresh and So Clean together, and like, it's giving cute, you know? Lil Murda was like playing the drums or whatever. So Lil Murda slows the beat down, and then Big Teak gets to rapping over that beat. And Lil Murda's like, now who the hell came up with those lyrics? And so Big Teek's like, nigga, you in 2017, he was wrapping one of them tissue paper wraps that he made for him. I said, oh my God. So Lil Murda feels guilty and starts kind of taking the blame for Big Teek going to the hole when they were in jail. And he says that, you know, you haven't been the same since. And so Big Teek says to him, nigga, that ain't my first time being in the hole. I started my bid in 1994. And then I was like, how old is this nigga? But I realized as he kept talking, he meant his childhood. He didn't mean he was actually in jail in 1994. He starts detailing a story about how his mom murdered his two sisters and his brother. And I was like, whoa, no wonder this man is crying every damn episode. And I felt so bad, even though he's a fictional character. Like, I felt so bad because I'm like, this nigga has issues. Like, he really, well, he does have issues. He needs to deal with them. But like, he saw his mom murder his family. So, you know, he's traumatized. And so he talks about how he went to go hide in this dark closet when it was happening. And that was his first time being in the hole. So he was talking about how the devil was in his mom and the devil was in the guy that stabbed Lil Murda in jail, and now he said the devil is in him. Lil Murda says the devil's not in you, the devil's back at that house. And Big Teek's like, no. People think that these teardrops on my face are for how many niggas I've killed. No, these are my siblings. This is my two sisters. He says their names, and my brother, and he says his name. He also says that his story was supposed to end that night, and Murda says, no, your story's just beginning. When we go on tour tomorrow, you know, it's lit. Big Teek says, you could have tomorrow, nigga, but I'm gonna have tonight. And so this is when it's like getting super dark. So they get in the car and Big Teek tells Lil Murda, you know, let me know where to drop you off. So Lil Murda's like, yeah, no, I don't want you to drop me off anywhere. I'm sticking out. I'm gonna hang out with you for the rest of the night because I don't want you to get in your thoughts and your feelings and you're thinking about this, that, and the third and, you know, driving yourself crazy and you get in that mood. But he was just trying to protect him, right? So Big Teek says to him, listen, if you're not gonna let me drop you off somewhere, then get out of the car. This man just bought you this car. You're gonna kick him out the car that he bought you. What's happening? Lil Murda says, nigga, no, like, I'm not getting out the car. And Big Teek screams, nigga, get the F out of the car. I'm like, what is happening? And when he says this, he pulls out his gun and puts it to his head. And I'm like, well, this is escalating a little quickly. Lil Murda, of course, is super duper concerned. And so for the first time ever, you hear Lil Murda call Big Teek Thad. So I guess that's his real name, or partially his name is probably like Thaddeus. I don't know freaking what his name is. He looks at him like, are you serious? Like, what's going on? And so Big Teek says, tonight I'm going from the dark to the light. Lil Murda is pleading with everything in him with Big Teek, like, please, like, give me the gun. Do not do this. Give me the gun. He says that he wishes he could, but he's just so tired. So Lil Murda's like, nigga, you could sleep when you dead. He's like, we got money to make. We got houses to buy. We got babies to make. Like, he's talking all this stuff. And he's really trying to convince him. He's like, come on, like, tomorrow we start tour. Like, it's going to be great, all this stuff. We're going to be outside. F what Wody got to say. We're going to do us, blah, blah, blah. He tells Big Teek, like, I owe you this. Like, I owe you this. And Big Teek's like, you don't owe me jack diddly squat. And he's like, I owe you my life. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he saved him in jail. And so he still has the gun to his head, and he says to Lil Murda, he's crying, and he's like, but there's no more light. Like, I'm tired. Like, I don't see the light. And so Lil Murda's like, listen, I see the light for you, nigga. Like, I see it. Don't do this. Big Teek whispers, no, my light is gone. I was hoping and praying that they weren't going to end the scene how I knew they were going to end the scene, but because they put the trigger warning at the beginning of the episode, I already knew what time it was. So, Lil Murda says no. He says, like, I'm right here with you, baby boy. I ain't going no effing where. He's crying now. They're both crying. HVH for life. That's their little posse. And Lil Murda's like, for life. And they pan to the outside of the car, and a gun goes off, and I'm like, and so it takes a second. Lil Murda's car door opens, and Lil Murda has blood all over his left side, and he's stumbling out of the car like he's absolutely traumatized. And he walks to like the back of the vehicle and he kind of just rests there like, whoa. Like he just saw Big T kill himself. So it was a lot. Anyway, Mercedes is at home. It's late night and there's a knock at her door. Terica pulls up, she's crying, okay? And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So Terica comes inside the house. What's happening? Like, what are you doing here? It's late. Terica gonna reach into her back pocket and pull out some damn pregnancy test that says yes plus. Girl, really, Terica? Really? Like, have they taught you nothing? Like, what is going on? But like, I saw this coming from a mile away with Terica. She's having too many struggles. So Mercedes hugs her, she holds her. You know, she's looking at the test like, oh my God. But like, Mercedes knows she can't even be mad at Terica because look at what's going on. Terica never had a good life, you know. Well, she did, but like Terica has issues. So in the next scene, the doorbell rings or somebody knocks at Clifford's house and Grandma is struggling to get downstairs. She's coughing, she's sick, like she's trying to get downstairs. So she opens the door and she can't really see who it is at first. And we see it's Lil Murda. And Clifford comes to the door. Obviously, he's still covered in the blood, right? So he's crying and he's like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And Clifford hugs him and brings him inside. And that is how the episode ends. And like, whoa. Okay, whoa. A lot. The show is so good though. Like it's so well written and thought out, and like I can appreciate it a bit. So I'm excited to see what happens next week. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you guys are interested in winning this nail set, I will post how to win this nail set like I posted the other two. I love you all so much, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.